Alright, welcome to the fourth video on factoring. In this video I want to talk about factoring a polynomial with four terms. So we'll talk about factor by grouping, which will be this one here. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started on some examples. Alright, notice here I have a polynomial. I have four terms: xy plus 2y plus 3x plus 6. Now, to factor by grouping, what you want to do is you want to split this down the middle. Okay, you want to split it in half and look at the first part and look at the second part. So out of the first one, notice I can factor out a y. So I have y times x plus 2, and then out of the 3x plus 6, factor out a greatest common factor. I can factor out a 3. So that's going to give me x plus 2. And then what I have now is I have a common binomial factor. So now I can factor out the x plus 2. And when I factor out x plus 2, I factor out x plus 2 out of the first part, I'm left with y. Factor out x plus 2 out of the second part, I'm left with a 3. Now, this step here, factoring out the common binomial factor, that's in the second video on factoring. You can go back to that second video and review that if you need to. Okay, let's look at another example. Alright, so I have 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 3. I have four terms. So factor by grouping, I'm going to split this down the middle. Okay, and out of the first part, I can factor out an x squared. So I have, let me change the color. I have x squared times, and if I factor out a x squared out of the 2x cubed, I'm left with 2x. Factor out of x squared out of the 3x squared, I'm left with minus 3. Now let's look at the second part here. Now, there's nothing I can factor out, but if I leave this as minus 2x plus 3, see, I don't have a common binomial factor. Here I have 2x minus 3, here I have minus 2x plus 3. Notice I have a plus 2x, and here I have a minus 2x, here I have a minus 3, and here I have a plus 3. So what I want to do is I want to factor out a negative 1. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1. And if I factor out a negative 1, it changes the sign of each term. So that will be a positive 2x, and the plus 3 will change to a minus 3. So now you can see that I have a common binomial factor of 2x minus 3. So I factor out the 2x minus 3, so I'm left with 2x minus 3, and then that leaves me with x squared minus 1. Okay, but I'm not finished factoring, because I look at the x squared minus 1, and I notice that's the difference of two squares. And I have another video where we factor out the difference of two squares. You can go and watch that one. Okay, so the x squared minus 1 can be written as x squared minus 1 squared. That's the difference of two squares. And then let me write the 2x minus 3 in front. It comes along with it. Okay, so now I have 2x minus 3 times, and now let's factor x squared minus 1. X squared minus 1 squared. So you can see that here I have my a is x and b is 1. So that's going to leave me with x minus 1 times x plus 1. And there's my final answer. Let's take a look at one more example. Okay, I have x squared minus 15y minus 10x plus 3xy. Now, when I look at this, I have 4 terms. So just like we've done before, we're going to split it down the middle. Okay, here I can factor out an x. Okay, so if I factor out an x, that'll leave me with minus x times, and that's going to leave me with, if I factor out a negative x, that's going to leave me with 10 minus 3y. And if I look at this first part, the x squared minus 15y, I don't have a common factor. So that's really doing me no good. But what I can do, or what you want to do, is you want to rearrange the terms. So let's write this whole thing. Let's rearrange the terms into 2x squared minus 10x. Okay, and then let's write it as I don't know, maybe plus 3xy minus 15y. Let's try that and see how that works. And you may not, when you rearrange the terms, you may not get it right the first time. You just have to rearrange them and see if you can get something that works. So let's look. We have 4 terms. We're going to split it down the middle. So out of the first part, okay, there's the first part, and there's the second part. So out of the first part, I can factor out a 2x, and so that leaves me with x minus 5. And out of the second part, the 3xy minus 15y, I can factor out a 3y. All I'm doing is factoring out the greatest common factor out of each part. So if I factor out a 3y, that's going to leave me with x minus 5. So you can see now I have my common binomial factor of x minus 5. So my final answer is going to be x minus 5, factor that out, and that's going to leave me with 2x plus 3y. And there's my final answer. I hope this video helped. Thanks.